Hello, welcome back to my channel. This is Robert M. Ross, I'm a licensed professional counselor here in the state of Pennsylvania, and I'm welcoming you back to the Common Sense Lifestyle, where I try to take some common sense psychological concepts and give you ways you can apply them to your life. Before we get into my topic, of course, I give my normal disclaimer. This is not a therapy session. I am not your therapist. If you do need a therapist, I would recommend that you seek out one. You can do that by contacting your insurance company and find out who's in network in your area. You can also use Psychology Today. They have a really good find a therapist function on their website. You can find someone in your area. You can search by insurances that you have. You can search by conditions that you want to seek treatment for. And it's usually a pretty good and useful service and it's free of charge. So, also, nothing in any of my videos can be construed as mental health treatment. They're not meant to diagnose or treat any kind of mental disorder. So once again, if you do need treatment, go seek one out. Go seek out a qualified therapist in your area. So, topic for today goes back to the last video that I made in my car, You Are Your Choices. Talked about high school a lot, and that has been a repeated topic. For some reason in mental health, you'll end up with people talking about the same things in your office again and again and again. I don't know why that is. It's just kind of a streaky kind of thing. But most recently, high school has been a big topic. I've had teenagers in my office that are struggling in high school. I've had adults in my office that are struggling as adults with what happened to them in high school. So I think that bears some talking about because high school is, by the time you get to be my age, it's a very small part of your life. However, it's a very impactful part of your life. It's a very important part of your life because it's a part of your life when you're developing psychologically. You're kind of becoming you at that time. And what happens to you in that environment has a lot to do with how you become as an adult, your default settings. And we'll put a link to that video down in the description. So when you go to high school, you're a teenager. You don't know who you are yet. You're psychologically kind of forming yourself. You're kind of trying to figure out where you fit in this weird and crazy world. And where do we put our teenagers who are trying to figure out where they fit in this weird and crazy world? We put them in a very, very, very artificial environment. We put them in an artificial environment where our natural tendency to want to be like other people, because that's what happens to us when we're teenagers. We want to be like everyone else. We want to fit in. We want to have friends. It's when our peer group becomes more important than our family. We get in this very artificial environment where things don't quite match what the real world is. And we end up talking about this a lot in my office. What are socially the most important things in high school? Well, how you look. The attractive people, the girls that are really, really pretty, the guys that are really, really, good looking. They're part of that top social echelon that everybody wants to be part of as a teenager, but not everyone can achieve. So what are some of the other things that makes you a top echelon person in high school, in this artificial high school environment? If you're an athlete, if you can throw a ball, kick a ball, all those things, that puts you in the top tier in most high schools. Now, are athletics terrible? No, they're not. They teach a lot of valuable lessons about teamwork, sacrifice, hard work, wonderful thing, athletics. But when it comes down to the rest of your life and the rest of the world, not the most important thing. But in high school, they're elevated to a really, really, really high thing. So, if you're in one of these groups, if you're a really attractive person, if you're one of the pretty girls, if you're one of the cheerleaders, if you're one of the athletes, if your parents are wealthy, and as I think I put in the last video, they buy you a Camaro for your 16th birthday, great for you. You're going to do really well in this artificial environment. However, my message today is not for those people. My message today is for the people that aren't in that top echelon. What if you're not in that top tier? What if you're not one of the attractive people? What if your family's poor? What if you're not athletic? What if you're not particularly attractive? What if you're quote unquote a nerd, a dork, a geek, whatever. What happens to you in that artificial environment? Well, a lot of times people get bullied, and that certainly can happen, especially towards the middle school age. As I like to put it, middle school students are the most evil creatures that walk the earth. 12, 13, and 14-year-olds are absolutely evil to each other. They are mean, just absolutely cruel to each other, and just unremittently cruel. I mean, they just bully, 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 and they don't give up. Deal with terrible cases of that in my office where, kids literally have to change schools because the school can't stop the other kids from bullying their child. I've seen that happen multiple occasions. But what happens to us, or what happens to a person when they're in this artificial environment where the things that matter in that environment really don't pertain to the rest of your life or to the real world for that matter, and this environment just beats the crap out of you or abuses you. Well, we know from bullying research that when people are bullied, they tend to have low self-esteem, and that low self-esteem creeps into every area of their lives. They have poor self-concept. They don't think well of themselves. They lack confidence, so they don't use their abilities to their maximum potential. They tend to have fewer friends. They tend to have more unstable relationships. They tend to be more financially unstable as adults. They tend not to achieve as much as they could because in their head, they're still that child that's being rejected. So one of the things that a young person, and this is what I try to tell young people, and this is a tough order for young people, because again, a young person in middle school, high school, they're trying to be like everyone else. They're trying to fit themselves into the social echelon that maybe they can't fit in. And even worse, as some people have told me, they get past the bullying phase and then they just become invisible, like they're not even there. They're just disregarded. They're just like, they basically are there to suck air, in comparison to their peers. So they feel even worse. But what I try to tell these people, and this is the challenge for them, is recognize that you are operating and living in an artificial environment. And what makes it so hard is it's easy for me to say that. I haven't been in high school since the late 1980s. I've had decades to build a life and build confidence and know that the wider world has nothing to do with high school. You haven't yet. If you're in high school right now, this is all you know. This is your reality. What I'm telling you is you're living in the matrix, basically. And when you graduate, not to get too far into the analogy, but you kind of take the red pill and you move on. High school ends. High school's over. So if you're one of those people and you're in high school and maybe you're being bullied and maybe you're being ignored and maybe you're not one of the top echelon people in your school, what I can tell you is this. This is prep for the rest of your life. Your life hasn't started yet. The rest of the people around you, maybe their lives are starting, maybe they're taking off, maybe they're being successful socially and whatever in high school. That doesn't always translate to success in the real world, by the way. But they're being successful and you're not feeling successful. And because this is all that you know and this is all the experience that you've had, you think this is it. It's not it. There's a whole big, ginormous world waiting for you to graduate. So you have to get yourself through this experience. You have to slog through it as best you can, and you need to start working on you. You need to start working on yourself physically. No, I'm not saying you have to be ripped, huge, jacked, whatever. You don't have to be any of those things. You don't have to be like a bodybuilder. Be healthy. Get your body to work. I did an exercise video. When this works better, this works better. They're connected. They work together. It doesn't mean that you're going to be an athlete. It doesn't mean you have to be like the people that tease you or pick on you. It means you take care of you. That's part of taking care of you. Part of taking you is taking care of your physical body. Also taking part of you, take care of your mind. Read, expand your vision, learn things. Learn things that you can use when you get out of that artificial environment and get into the real world. If you plan on going to college and seeking out higher education, Read things that prep you for that. Have a wide range of knowledge. Have a good fund of information is the psychological term. The better your fund of information, the better that you can do when you get out of school. Then work on yourself emotionally. And this is the harder part because people that deal with consistent rejection in high school struggle with this. So what do you do about that? You do find friends. You do get a friend group of whatever friends you can find. I always recommend get friends that push you forward, that try to, kind of nudge you in the right direction, that try to take care of you and make you a better person. And that you do the same for them. Don't get around people that are druggies or people that are going to lead you down a bad path, because you don't need to do that. Do take care of you. This is your crucible. This is where you go through kind of the fire and you come out refined on the other side. I know it sounds a little cliche, but it's true. You can make it through this. And when you do make it through this, you're going to overcome that adversity. And then you're going to go off and kick life in the butt and really put a dent in the world. Because that's really what you want to do in the end. Don't allow the people that ignore you or at worst bully you to win. Because if you allow these people to get in your head and convince you that you're a failure, that you're no good, that you're not worth anything, that you are a loser, that you are a geek, a nerd, or whatever, you're allowing them to win. Don't let them win. Go forth. Kick life in the butt. As I said in my last video, everything about high school stops mattering 15 seconds after you walk out that door for the last time. When you walk across that stage and get that diploma, it's over. It's gone. Life resets. It's over. It no longer matters who the star football player was. It no longer matters who the cheerleader was. None of those things matter at all anymore. You and what you've put in your head and what you've taken care of physically will walk out of that school into the rest of the world. And the more you prepare yourself to take on the rest of that world, the better you'll do in the rest of that world. So don't let that artificial environment beat you down. It's artificial. It doesn't matter. It's not the rest of your life. It's just temporary. Whereas I had one client put to me, high school is like being forced to watch a bad movie and there's no popcorn and you're not allowed to just walk out and get your money back. So, take it for what it is. I know it's a tall order. When you have to live with it every day, it's easy for me to sit here in this chair in my office and say that, just get over it. I'm not saying just get over it. I'm saying fight it. So comments down below, suggestions down below, death threats down below, however you want to put it. This was kind of like off the top of my head kind of a video, so if it's a little disjointed, I do apologize. As I say at the end of all my videos, if you're feeling suicidal, if you have a friend or a family member that's expressing suicidal thoughts to you, please use the suicide prevention hotline that I'm going to put down in the description below. Suicide is a long-term solution to a short-term problem. Whether it's high school, a divorce, separation, breakup, business failure, job loss, all these things are surmountable. All these things are survivable. And if you wait 5 years or you take care of you and you kick butt in life, you can look back at this time and say, hey, this is when I really put it together and knocked it out of the park. So take care of you. Don't allow other people to bring you down. Don't allow those bullies or the people that ignore you define your existence, because you define you, not them. Again, hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the bell so you can be notified of future videos. Just become the best edition of yourself that you could possibly be. Peace, guys, and out. Have a good one.